Hey guys, welcome back to part 4 of Endless Runner game tutorial series in Unreal Engine. In this video, we are gonna work on the roll movement of the character and fix some glitches and bugs related to the character movement. And you can also download this whole project from my Patreon, so you don't have to make the whole game yourself. The link is in the description. So as of now, we can high jump and also side jump to change the lane, and these movements are working pretty good. But now it's time to add the roll movement. So go to your character blueprint where we have wrote all the logics about the character movement. So let's here add a custom event and let's name this roll movement. And then let's create a variable and let's name this is rolling. Make sure it's a boolean and set this true when we are calling this event. So we'll know our character is currently rolling. Then we are going to play our animation montage and make sure to select this one, not the bottom one, since this one is a little different than the another one, although they do the same thing. Now here we also need to tell it on which skeletal mesh we want to play the animation montage. So just plug the character mesh here, and here we are going to select our rolling animation montage, which is this one we have in our content browser. Now here we get a lot of execution pins which triggers on different events. So here on animation completed, we are going to set is rolling to false. Also we'll do the same thing if the animation was interrupted in between. Now we are going to call this event when we press the S key, just like we have set up our other inputs. So right here, let's search for the S key. Here it is. So when we press the S key, first of all, we wanna ensure that we are not already rolling. Otherwise we can get input spam issue. And if we are not rolling, we are going to call that roll movement event. And now when we press S, our character rolls. So it's working pretty nice, but not when we jump. And we want it to snap down to the ground as soon as our character rolls in the air. So for that, first we are going to check if our character is jumping. And if it is jumping, we want to snap it down to the ground. So for that, let's add a timeline. Let's name this roll timeline and always play it from start. Now double click to open the timeline, and here let's add a float track since we only want to change the Z axis. Let's name this snap down track. So here right click and add a key and give it the time and value both 0. Now add another float key and let's give it the time of 0.2 and value of about 200. Now to end this timeline at the last key point, you can select this option, or you can also manually change the length of the timeline. Now this is from where I will receive all those values, and after this, and we are going to set the relative Z location of the capsule component just like we have did for other movements. Copy these nodes and paste it to do it quickly. So XY location will remain same, but here we are just gonna change the Z value that is responsible for up and down movement. Now first, here we are gonna subtract the timeline value with our character's current Z location. Make sure the current Z location is above in the subtract operator and connect the subtracted value to the Z axis. Now here, since we are using this current Z location variable, we also need to set its value before we start rolling. So I'm just gonna copy it from our previous movement system and paste it before you start this roll timeline, where we are basically getting a player capsule Z location. Now also, when you're finished with the rolling timeline, we are going to set is rolling boolean to false again. So now let's play and test this. As you can see, we are getting a weird issue here while we try to roll after jumping, and that is because as we high jump, it plays this timeline, and this timeline is overlapping with our rolling timeline. So we need to stop this jump timeline when we are rolling. So let's create a custom event. Let's name this stop jump timeline and set is jumping to false. And then connect it to stop pin of this timeline, so the timeline will get stopped. And now we need to call that event before we start this roll timeline. So here let's call this stop jump timeline, and this should fix the issue. So let's jump and roll. Here we also got one more issue, and that is because of this on landed event. Since as soon as our character will land on the floor, it is just going to stop and switch back to running animation. So here let's add a condition, and let's say when our character is jumping, only then we are going to blend the animation on land. Let's test this again, and this time it's working. But sometimes while jump and roll, our character literally goes underground. This is because we haven't set any limit on the lower extent. So what we can do is, let's create a variable. Let's name this default Z location. Now here we are gonna save our character's capsule's default local Z location, and we're gonna do this in the construct script. So the value will be stored already before even we play. So the value we wanna store is our capsule's relative location. Right click and split the structure, and we want to store its Z location. Now let's go back to event graph, and here while we are constantly changing the player's capsule location, with that we are also going to check a condition, and that is if our current capsule's Z location is less than equals to our default Z location. So every time we update the location, it also checks if you already hit the floor, and if we did, we want to stop this timeline. So for that, let's create a custom event and let's call this stop rolling timeline. Let's connect it to the stop pin, and if this condition is true, we are going to stop our rolling timeline. That will just stop the rolling movement of the character. Now here when we are setting the Z location, we are directly plugging this subtracted value to this Z location, and there is no limit to it unless the condition we just applied. So we can do one more thing here to ensure that glitch never happens, and for that let's search for the clamp float, and this is used to limit the value. So here we can provide it the minimum and maximum value. The minimum value we can ever get after subtracting is the default Z location of the character, and the maximum can be, let's say, around 1000, and plug this return value to the Z axis. So let's play and test this. And now as you can see, no matter how much I try, the player never goes under the floor. Now after all this, if you're getting the problem where this side jump animation does not switch to run animation as soon as you land, then in that case, a quick solution to that will be when you finish the timeline, what you can do here is that what we are already doing here on landed event, which is blending out the animation montage. So just copy and paste it here. So as soon as you finish your timeline, you are going to blend out from the current playing animation montage. Just make sure you are setting this anim length variable wherever you are playing that animation. Now since we are not getting any blending issue, then we are not gonna use this. Now one more issue you will notice that when you jump and then side jump, you will see your character will get a double jump, and since we don't want that, we need to fix this. So in your side movement event, if you'll come here you can see this is making our character jump, and we need to block that if we are already high jumping. So let's add a condition here, and for that let's create a variable. Let's name this can jump. Make sure it's a boolean, and here if can jump is true, only then we can jump while changing the lane. Now how is this condition gonna vary? So for that let's come here. Before we start this side jump timeline, let's set this boolean and get is jumping boolean, and if it is not true, then we can jump. That just means if our character is not high jumping, only then we can jump while changing the lane. Now there is one more thing that we need to fix that can cause the problem, that is when we side jump and when we high jump, there is a common variable that is being used in both the moment. That is this current Z location, and if we try to do both the moments at the same time, it can cause the issue. So to avoid that, here let's add a condition that if our character is jumping, in that case we are not going to change the value of this current Z location. We are only going to set its value when we are not jumping. But we are using this variable right here that helps the player to jump. So what we can do here is get is jumping boolean, and depending on if it is true or false, we are going to replace the current Z location variable with default Z location. So search for the select node. Here it is. If this variable is false, then we are gonna use current Z location, and if it is true, we are gonna use default Z location, and whichever the condition is true, that variable is going to get added. So now let's play and test this. So now as we jump, you can see there is no double jump issue, and the movement is working quite smoothly. Now there is one more issue. After jump, when we are in the air, if we quickly roll and move side, you can see in that case we are still able to jump mid-air. So it's really easy to fix that. We just need to add one more condition here for is rolling. So is rolling should also be not true to make can jump condition true, and to combine both of these conditions, we can use AND operator. So now if I try to do that again, it's not happening, and that problem is being solved. But now there is one more issue, that if I move side and then jump, I get a double jump. So we also need to fix that. So for that, here when you press the W key, we need to add a condition. Let's get an AND operator first, since we already have a condition here. Now that other condition is the side jump should not be true. So if you are not already jumping and you are also not in the middle of the side jump, then you will be able to high jump. So let's test this now. So here I'm moving side and also trying to jump midair, but I'm not able to because of the condition we made. And now there is one more issue left, that if I quickly roll and jump midair, I will be able to do that again and again. That can easily break the game. So to fix that, we need to add one more condition here. So for that, get your character movement, and from that, get is falling. Here we just wanna check if the character is not already falling and is somewhere in the ground. So if this condition is not true, then only we can high jump. Add a pin here for this condition and plug it to operator. So now let's test this again. So I'm trying to do that again, but it's not happening no matter how hard I try. So this issue is also being resolved. Now there are some more things you can do to avoid any glitches in this character movement system. So that would be, before we high jump, we can make sure that the rolling timeline is not working. So for that, before we start the jump timeline, we are going to stop the rolling timeline. There you go. And also in your on-landed event, when you land and you were jumping, make sure to stop the jump timeline. Now let's add a sequence. Since we are gonna do one more thing here, is that we are gonna check if we were rolling, and on landed, if we were rolling, then we are gonna stop rolling movement. So that is much about the character movement system. And one last thing I would suggest is to speed up the animation a bit. So let's open the animation sequence of the rolling first, and let's set the rate scale to 1.2. And as we change the rate scale of the animation sequence, the animation montage automatically get affected. So don't worry about that. So now let's change the rate scale of the side jump animation. I'm gonna give it a rate scale of 1.3. Same for the right side jump animation. There you go. Now let's play. And as you can see, the side jump and rolling animation are a little bit speed up and looking pretty good. And we have also fixed all the glitches of the character movement system. So that is it for this part of this tutorial series. If you really like this video, you can support me on Patreon, where you can get all the project files I've ever created for these tutorial videos. The link is in the description. And you can also join my Discord server, where you can interact with other developers of this community. And if this video really helped you out, you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I wanna thank the Patreon members of this month. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. Alright, till then, see you. Bye bye.